Market fails to hold the intraday recovery and closes in the red after Trump's tariff on India. Nifty ends the session below 24,800 after recovering levels above 24,900. Most sectoral indices in the red except for FMCG, which gains over 1%.
Tata Motors is set to buy Italian CV maker Iveco for €3.8 billion to gain access to key technologies and build a presence in the Europe and South America market. The move precedes demerger of Tata Motors CV business.
Shares of HUL rebound from lows after reporting its June quarter numbers, which was in line. It's the top Nifty gainer in an otherwise weak market. Sun Pharma skids after reporting with its Q1, which was also in line.
Hello and welcome to Markets Forward on CNBC TV 18, your go-to show where we aim to get you all key data points to gear up for the next trading day, what's happened in today's trading day as well. I'm Vinny Motiwala. With me is my colleague Ekta Batra as well. Ekta, an interesting day we could say, right? Given the handover that we have coming in. Today what we're seeing in terms of a close for the Nifty 50, it's not bad. 25% tariff, those announcements there, that caused a bit of a jitter in early morning trade. We saw the recovery, but did manage to hold on to that. 24,800, below that is what the Nifty closed.
Well, Vinny, yes, definitely disappointing, you'd have to say, in terms of a close. But we would have to say that overall, the market was resilient despite the bad news and the expectations that we had overnight in terms of what the markets could do. So the Nifty ended 86 points lower. It was below 24,800. We had the mid-caps, which took a broader brunt, down around 0.9%, and the Bank Nifty, which reversed a couple of its gains that it saw, so down around 0.3% for that one. HUL, however, was the top gainer on the Nifty today, so that managed to buck the trend with a gain of around 3.5%. But let's tell you what we have lined up on this show for you today. We start with the top movers and shakers of the day with Vivek. Also on our radar, HUL, Sun Pharma, which came out with their Q1 numbers, and Tata Motors was under pressure after the company announced their decision to acquire Italian CV maker Iveco. Last but not least, we delve into the key market events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session.
Okay, and let's go across to Vivek for our first segment for the day, and that is the top stocks and top movers and shakers of the day from the big wall. Vivek, over to you. A lot that has happened today.
Absolutely right. Thank you so much for that. Well, you did see a session that you started off significantly lower, then the breadth improved significantly, and again towards the last hour, you did see some selling pressure emerge, especially in the broader end of the markets. In terms of the top movers, you have to look at HUL. Numbers came in early during the trading session. The numbers were in line to slightly above what the street was anticipating. Commentary was positive in terms of margin trajectory improving. Stock higher by over 3% today. HEG was the other stock, one from the graphite electrode space. That particular company gave a very strong set of numbers, and the management also indicated to us earlier today that they are likely to take price hikes towards the end of the year. The other stock on the radar, one from the EMS space, Keynes Technologies. Now, this particular company gave in line to strong set of results, and in the conference call or in the analyst meet, they actually reiterated the very strong revenue trajectory that they had anticipated for FY26. Street clearly took positive signs from that particular commentary. Imami and in fact the entire FMCG pack, strong set of results, very positive commentary in terms of margin improvement. That stock higher by 6%. And Sagility, one stock from the broader end of the markets, slight upgrade in terms of EBITDA guidance. That is something that the street like almost higher by 10%. On the other hand, quite a few laggards as well. Hindustan Copper, one of the top laggards in the session today. Overnight copper prices actually saw a 20% dip, and the stock took cues from that particular fall, down by almost 6%. You did see Indus, while the numbers were in line, street clearly upset by the lack of the dividend. Also, no clarity in terms of when will be the next dividend or the buyback. The stock lower by 6% today. CAMS, this particular capital market play, did see a weak set of results. Multiples getting cuts as far as brokerages were concerned, almost 4% lower. This is after a significant underperformance going into the results. Apar Industries, remember this particular company that manufactures conductor exports largely to the US market, the top laggard as far as NSE 500 was concerned. And Sonata Software, this particular stock, mid-cap IT space, muted set, EBITDA margin missed estimates. Soft quarter for the company, down by over 5%.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Vivek, for that. Now let's go across to our independent market expert, Ambareesh Baliga, and Ruchit Jain of Motilal Oswal Financials to get more perspective in today's trading session. Ambareesh as well as Ruchit, thanks very much for joining in. Well, Ambareesh, let's start with you. It was a choppy day. You know, the Trump tariffs really weighed in terms of sentiment. But overall, do you think that we did better than what at least the expectations were?
Absolutely, because the expectations were that possibly we will have a gap down opening, which actually happened. But then post that, it was expected that we could see further selling coming in, and we could see much lower levels. But instead of that, we saw a spirited recovery, and then possibly a small sort of a correction. So I think. The worst seems to have been priced in unless we have more bad news coming in from US. But then I think this news has been digested for the time being. We know which are the sectors which will get affected. So I think, I really don't see too much of a downside from here. Possibly 24,500 would be extremely good support for the markets. So I really don't see breaking that.
Okay. Ruchit, what's your view coming in on the markets as well? What are the levels that you are keeping an eye out on in terms of the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty? We did manage to touch those highs again in intraday high of 24,900. But then we've seen a fall coming in. So resistance, support, what are we keeping an eye out on now?
Yeah, very good afternoon, Vinny. Good afternoon to everyone. Well, in the last 1 month, we have already seen a price-wise corrective phase in the markets. If you look at exactly a month ago at the end of the June, Nifty had made a high of around 25,650, and today we are around at 24,650, 700 mark. So there has been a 1,000-point price-wise corrective phase in the markets. Now 24,600, 24,500, this remains a very important support in terms of previous swings low supports as well. And the kind of price action that we have seen today, in spite of such negative sentiment, before the market started, we managed to hold above the 24,600 mark, which was the low couple of days ago. So I think that markets have done most of the price-wise corrections in last 1 month. Now we could see some time-wise corrective phase in the short term. So maybe next 1 or 2 weeks could be the phase where markets would remain within a range only. 24,600, 24,500 would be acting as a very crucial support, while 25,000 remains a resistance which needs to be broken out. So maybe some time-wise corrective phase still could be seen in next few days.
Okay, all right. So that's on the technicals of the market. Well, I'm looking at Sun Pharma in today's trading session, and that is because the company did report its Q1 numbers in the second half of the day. Well, overall, you'd have to say that the revenue was a shade below estimates. It was up around 9.5% on a year-on-year basis. The US markets were in line, but the margins improved all the way to around 31%. The profit was impacted by a one-time loss of around 818 crores on account of drug discontinuation and impairment. Margins, like I mentioned, were improved year-on-year as well as Q-on-Q. US was largely in line at $473 million. Which is around 29% of their sales. India did well. It was up in double digits. Their global innovative medicines, which is basically the specialty business, was up around 17% year on year and came in at around $311 million. API did well, and the R&D business was around 6.5% of their total sales. So overall, good performance which came in for Sun Pharma, you'd have to say, especially on the margins. Revenue also up around 9.5% this quarter. Ambareesh, any thoughts on this?
If you look at the numbers overall, the numbers were, quite decent. But then the issue is exceptional expenses. Because exceptional is no longer exceptional, because you keep seeing this every 3 or 4 quarters. If you talk of exceptional, if it comes once in 3 or 4 years, understandable. But in case of Sun Pharma, we keep seeing that every 3 or 4 quarters. So I think that's something which is bothering the investors.
Okay, all right. Well, Ruchit, what about you? What's your sense in terms of the technicals of Sun Pharma and the entire Nifty Pharma index, which was in focus today as well?
I think for Sun Pharma, still the trend remains sideways only. If you look at just historical data, then at the start of the February month this year, the stock was trading around 1,700. We are starting the August month and still the stock is at same 1700 levels only. So last 6 months, we have not seen any kind of trended phase coming in Sun Pharma. So as of now, until the stock gives a breakout above 1800, the technical trends would still be range bound only. But yes, overall, the pharmaceutical stocks have managed to do well in last 15-20 days, where we have seen certain stocks such as Glenmark, Laurus Lab, had doing quite well. So I think Nifty Pharma as a space looks positive, but very selective stocks within that sector which are doing well, especially more focused on the healthcare space. Hospital stocks such as Apollo Hospitals is there, Fortis is there, KIMS is there. Now these are all stocks where the momentum actually is much on the positive side. I think pharma and as healthcare as a space should do well, but healthcare stocks should continue its relative outperformance.
Okay, that's a word coming in there for the healthcare space. But let's just focus and talk about the auto sector. We have Tata Motors that is set to buy the Italian CV maker Iveco for 3.8 billion euros. The management says it is a very strategic and meaningful acquisition. What more are the details and the key takeaways? We have Sudarshan joining in with us to give us the highlights of this deal. Sudarshan.
So it's a very important deal as far as Tata Motors is concerned. Company has announced that it's going to acquire Italian Iveco Group. So Iveco Group has two major businesses, auto business and defense business. So defense business will be delisted. Tata Motors is acquiring Iveco Group's auto business, and that will be acquired for 3.8 billion euros. In rupee term, it comes around 38,000 crore, and transaction is expected to be completed by April of 2026. So what does it bring for Tata Motors? First, it strengthens its portfolio by securing access to emerging technologies. Second, it creates a platform and allows company Tata Motors to compete on a global scale. And third, it diversifies the exposure and reduces the impact of cyclicality if company has a global presence. So suppose that there is a down cycle in India and in European or South America, there is an up cycle, so company can benefit. Now, Iveco Group currently has 12 to 13% market share in LCV in Europe and 8 to 9% market share in M&HCV segment. Also, it has market share of more than 50% in intercity bus market. Apart from Europe, it also has market share in South American market, where it doubled its market share from 4% in 2023 to almost 8% in 2024. And Tata Motors management is very bullish. It believes that Iveco Group's revenue, which currently stands around 3.8 billion, it will rise to almost 17 billion euros in next few years. And it believes that it's very strategic in nature. And as far as synergy is concerned between two companies, Tata Motors and Iveco, it will benefit and it will be positive for shareholder. So, and fundraise is concerned, company is saying that it's going to raise fund in next 18 months. And also, this will be funded by syndicated debt. So overall, I believe that it's positive for Tata Motors because both CV business and PV business will be demerged, and most probably it will be done by the end of this year. So after once the CV business is demerged, then Iveco Groups would be taken under CV business of Tata Motors.
Okay, all right, Sudarshan. So that's on Tata Motors. Well, eventful day in terms of news. Then Ambareesh, Tata Motors, what would your view be?
Because of this acquisition, people are reminded of how long they took for JLR to turn around, and I think because of that, we have seen that correction. But I would surely utilize this correction to buy in, because Tata Motors has proved itself doing these large acquisitions and turning them around, and which is exactly what will happen as far as this is concerned. So any sort of a weakness should be utilized to buy. And I think, going ahead, that demerger of the passenger cars, I think that also should be positive for the shareholders. So overall, I'm bullish on Tata Motors.
Okay, you're bullish on Tata Motors. That's what you are highlighting. Ruchit, any word on Tata Motors as well from you?
Technically, I think still one should wait for surpassing 710, 720 kind of resistance, because if you look at the stock made a high of around in last July, it made a high of around 1170, and post that whatever the auto space has done, the stock has been an underperformer. So I think still no signs of any kind of resumption of the uptrend. So unless we see good volume based buying happening over there, I think the stock could see some more consolidation, at least in the short term.
Okay, all right. Well, HUL posted largely an in-line set of numbers, while profit and revenue rose, margins declined year on year. Earlier in the day, that's when the numbers came out earlier in the day. Manglam is here, however, to tell us more about it.
Well, HUL indeed is the top nifty gainer today after reporting what was largely an in-line set of numbers, because a couple of internals do suggest that perhaps the worst is behind for the consumption sector and at the same time the consumption major as well. Why do I say that? You know, the company reported an underlying volume growth of 4%, the higher end of street expectations of 3 to 4%, revenue EBITDA largely in line. The net profit was further aided by lower tax expense as well. But the internals out here tell you that, you know, demand is improving. The management in its commentary post the results did say that there has been gradual improvement in demand, and the underlying macros do suggest that that is sustaining. So on the demand side, it is good. On the company's own parameters, they've said that over the last 5 quarters or so, they've gained market share in some of their growth categories, and they will be chasing growth as the share of premium also has increased by about 5 percentage points over the last couple of years. More than that, the acquisitions of both Oziva and Minimalist have aided nearly 1,000 crores to the company's consolidated top line. On leadership changes, Rohit Java did indicate that, you know, it's been a long time that he's been working for, looking forward to the next phase of his life, a decision that was made collectively by both the company and him, and believes that Priya Nair is ready to take Unilever to the next leg of growth. Ritesh Tiwari did say that he's currently the CFO of HUL, and if that changes, he will definitely inform the exchanges. His role, obviously, is to transition or help the leadership transition of the company as it moves from Rohit Java to Priya. But importantly, along with demand and growth of the company, the raw material environment is fairly suitable as well. They are saying that they're beginning to see some signs of softening in key commodities, so gross margins will improve from here on, and the company will plow that back into ad spends and brand building to support further growth from here on, which will largely be volume-led. The street likes that, the stock doing well.
Okay, thanks for that, Mangalam. But we also had Dabur that reported their numbers as well. This was also an inline set of numbers that came in from the company. Revenues came in at 3,405 crore rupees. Margins was around 19% this time. And the management says that unseasonal rains impacted the beverages as well as the revenue, excluding summer-centric products. Now, also adds that excluding the seasonal portfolio, volume growth was up 2% this time. So Dabur also saw a bit of an up move after the numbers were reported. But there were a whole host of earnings also during the day and, you know, post market close yesterday as well that we saw coming in. Upasana is here to highlight those key earnings for us. Upasana?
Well, first up, let me start with Hitachi Energy. Overall, it's a miss across the board. The revenue saw an uptick of 11% on a one-year basis. Margins stood at 10.5% versus the poll of 11%. Now, company told us on the US impact, tariff impact, that exports to US is very low at this point of time, and it is not concerned about the tariff impact on the company. Next up is Interglobe Aviation. The number misses the estimates. The revenue is up just about 4% on a one-year basis, and EBITDA margin is down 170 basis points at 28%. Company tells CNBC TV18 that it is hoping for a better growth in Q3 and Q4, and it maintains the capacity guidance for early double-digit for the full year FY26. Next up is Jubilant Ingrevia. The net profit is up 53% for this counter. The revenue is up about 1.3%, and margins has also expanded sharply from 10.8% to 13.7%. Now, specialty chemical segment continues to perform strongly, aiding the margin expansion here. And lastly, Indus Towers was also in focus today as the company's reported a revenue growth of 4.3% sequentially, and EBITDA margin is a big miss. The EBITDA margin stood at 54.5% versus 57% sequentially, and PAT has also declined 2.4% sequentially, which is why the stock was under pressure today. So all in all, we saw a whole host of result reactions playing out today.
Okay, all right. Well, on that, thanks, Upasana, for that. On that note, we'll take a short break, get you the top corporate voices along with key market events to watch out for on the other side.
Welcome back to Markets Forward on CNBC TV 18. Now let's get you some top corporate voices from the day that we had. Keynes Technology is the first one. The stock surged in trade after reporting a strong Q1 number. The management was upbeat on the profitability. It expects good increase in terms of profitability across different sectors and adds that the guidance for FY26 remains intact. It is optimistic about that by FY28, that $1 billion target of revenue is what it will achieve.
Well, that's not all. We also had the management of HEG on our channel says US is an important market for the company, as around 10 to 12% of the company's products go to the United States. It is anticipating 10% price rise going forward. The management is optimistic that its EBITDA margin of 27% will continue to improve. The stock has rallied in trade after reporting its Q1 numbers.
Okay, so it's surely been a very interesting day that we've seen coming in, where we've seen a lot of stocks rally based and on the back of their numbers as well. A lot of commentary that came in, Keynes, positive commentary on that front. We had Sagility that reported a good set of numbers as well. A lot of these mid-cap companies that actually managed to report a decent number coming in. But let's go across to Upasna, who's here finally to tell us which are the key events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session.
Well, one of the most important event for tomorrow is the Trump reciprocal tariffs. Mind you that the new tariff rates come into effect tomorrow onwards. Now, let us look at the other key economical data that is important for US markets. US will be reporting its unemployment rate data for the month of July, manufacturing PMI, non-farm payroll, and even ISM manufacturing data. Next up is Europe. Europe will be reporting its core CPI data for the month of July on a one-year basis. UK will be also reporting its S&P Global Manufacturing PMI data. And lastly, back home, India will be reporting its S&P Global Manufacturing data for the month of July and even foreign exchange reserve data. Now, let us look at the key results that we'll be closely watching out for tomorrow. Companies like ITC, Tata Power, MCX, Honeywell Automation, UPL, all these counters will be reporting their numbers tomorrow. And lastly, in terms of IPO, NSDL 4,000 crore IPO closes for subscription tomorrow. So all in all, looks like quite an eventful day tomorrow.
Okay, all right, Upasna. Thanks very much for that. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Markets Forward. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay tuned.